Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back, Tokers and Tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. I'm Radical Russ, your host for this next hour of Toker Talk Radio. Our phone lines are open at 844-207-2346. That's 84-420-RADIO. Also, we've got the 420 Radio app available for download at the Android store. You can get it at 420radio.buzz. Please download the app. Please download it. And we also want to remind you that we are in our fundraising phase, as we usually are, as we ramp up for the summer events. Got a lot of travel that we're going on, and we're going to be bringing you all sorts of great content from all over this continent, literally all over this continent, in just this month, as a matter of fact. But it costs. And we are a tight ship here at 420radio.org. We're not extravagant in any way. Hell, folks, I don't even own a car. Okay? I take buses everywhere I go. Buses, trains, and planes. So I'm not living high on the hog, but we do, from time to time, ask our listeners as best they can to kick in. Help us bring you more of this great content. The easiest way to do that is to become a VIP member of 420 Radio. You become a VIP member at 420radio.org/VIP, and it's a simple PayPal subscription. You can start for as low as $4.20 a month. That's our copper membership, but at higher levels, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, you get increasing discounts at the 420 Radio shop. You get all sorts of free swag that I swear I'm going to mail out one of these days. I do, I swear it. And other benefits. As we upgrade the 420 Radio app, there's going to be all sorts of features in it that will only be available to our VIP subscribers. So if you can spare the change, set up your monthly PayPal deduction to go straight to 420radio.org. Really, really appreciate you who have been doing this donation. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the road and just desperate as hell, like, oh crap, I got no money. And I see 2 or 3 or 4 of those bronze subscriptions come through. Even though it's $20 or so, I tell you, that really helps. It gets me a cab. It gets me around when I'm trying to do all this stuff for you. And speaking of this stuff about this, I said we're going all across the continent. Literally this next month, May, I will be going all around this continent. On May 15th, for the first time ever, I'll be flying to the Great White North. I'll be going to Alaska. And north to Alaska, you go north, the rush is on. Should have had that queued up. But I'm going to Alaska, to Anchorage for the Northwest Cannabis Classic. And it is my first trip ever to Alaska. I'm really looking forward to it, hoping to get to meet the people who legalized in Alaska, get the interviews with them, and sure hope to get to meet Charlotte Green as well. Get an interview with her, see how life has been treating her since she said, fuck it, I quit. She's my hero. She's absolutely my hero. So we're doing Alaska the 15th through the 18th, and then I return for one day to Portland, before I catch a plane to Washington, D.C., where I'll be participating in NORML's legislative fly-in. We're going to be lobbying our federal lawmakers on marijuana reform, and apparently we're also doing some panels because I've been invited to speak at a couple of these panels. So we'll be bringing you the coverage of those panels and the lobbying and everything we do, interviews with Alan St. Pierre and Keith Stropp and everyone else that we can round up there at the legislative fly-in. And then at the end of the month, end of May, I'll be making my way to Aspen, Colorado for the Aspen Legal Seminar. The brightest legal minds in marijuana law reform will all be there. We'll get you plenty of interviews. We'll talk about all of the issues. We'll talk about banking and security and taxes and drug dogs and searches and the Supreme Court recent decisions and the Fourth and Fifth Amendment and so forth. So tons of great content coming up. We need your help to pay for it. If you can become a 420 Radio VIP member, just visit 420radio.org/VIP. All right. Thanks for that. And glad to get all the money hustling out of the way. I tell you, it's not the most comfortable thing for me in the world. I'm more of a policy guy, not a money guy, but reality is what it is. Now, coming up on the rest of this hour, we're going to talk a little bit about marijuana use in the NFL. There's more draft picks that are coming up positive for their marijuana use. We'll take a look at how prevalent it is in the NFL, plus a little trivia. Did you know that the NFL's drug testing regimen began this year on April 20th? Yeah, figures, right? Also, some news from the city of Denver. You may not know this, but in the city of Denver, pot shops can't stay open past 7 p.m. Isn't that odd? Yeah, you can get them in the outlying areas, but not in Denver.
And now, a message from former President George W. Bush to remind the American people of our responsibility in our nation's war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
That's right, America, use less drugs. Put down the Prozac, the Vioxx, and the Levitra, and turn to the herb. Use less drugs. Our national policy is no longer just say no, it's now just slow down.
You get me too high. I overanalyze. If you've ever been too high, then you can sympathize. You get me too high. And I start to fly if I said some silly thing, and that's the reason why.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with our Shoutcast stream for all internet-enabled media players. Go to rad-r.us/420shout or just click the Shoutcast icon below the live radio feed at 420radio.org. Are you tired of storing your herb in back alley baggies? Then keep your herb fresh and protected with Pottles. Pottles are airtight and odor-free. Not to mention they're reusable, BPA-free, and UV-resistant. Pottles come in a variety of sizes, styles, and colors, so go check out Pottles at mypottles.com. Use the code STASH to get an additional 10% off. Again, that's mypottles.com, mypottles.com, and tell them Radical Russ sent you.
Funky roller ring.
Oh, yeah.
What's happening, Groovy Cats? This is your Funk Master of Ceremonies, Big Daddy, and I want you to join me every Thursday night at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, right here at the Funky Roller Ring.
Oh, yeah.
Your home of soul, funk, and disco, baby.
Funky-licious.
There's always a party at the Funky Roller Ring.
420 Radio is brought to you by Sacred Serum, who is focused on creating elegant and sophisticated cannabis solutions through its line of dispensers and vaporizers that come preloaded with the world's finest cannabis concentrate. Sacred Serum's concentrate is made on pharmaceutical-grade supercritical CO2 extraction machines that use absolutely no butane or other toxic chemicals. The Vesica, the company's innovative new way to dab and frost, is now available in dispensaries across California. Sacred Serum, elegance and sophistication concentrated.
Welcome back, everybody. 10 and a half after the hour. That's 10-foot ganja plant with too much gun, a bust. And welcome back to the show. Wanted to talk about the NFL because tomorrow, the 30th of April, is significant not only because it's my oldest niece's 21st birthday. Happy birthday, Sammy. But also... 21. Oh my God, I can't believe she's 21. But also because it's NFL draft day. Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the first pick in the NFL draft. And once again, as it has the past few years, the subject of marijuana use has clouded, see what I did there? Has clouded the draft prospects for some of these players. And this is on the heels of a new report. I'm sorry, not a report, but a couple of tweets that came out from one NFL general manager who spoke on the condition of an anonymity to a reporter from Bleacher Report. And the general manager says, my estimate is 30 to 40% of players in this draft class use marijuana regularly. That's right in line with our league. So a GM in the NFL saying 30 to 40% of the NFL players are currently smoking pot. He continues, publicly teams act shocked, disappointed about marijuana. Privately, we know a lot of guys smoke and we're far from shocked. And then concludes, in 5 years, maybe less, we'll have a league that allows smoking pot. It's best recourse. What we're doing now is stupid. But of course, players that are caught now get suspended. Josh Gordon had to sit out a whole season. The statistical best NFL wide receiver had to sit out an entire season for failing pot drug tests. The Christian Science Monitor of all news outlets has focused on this in a recent story, how many NFL players use marijuana. And this, of course, is in the news because leading up to the draft, Nebraska's Randy Gregory failed a drug test, and Missouri's Shane Ray was cited for marijuana possession. And in the case of both of these athletes that were highly touted recruits, draft picks, I should say, are now going to fall in the draft because of these marijuana allegations, these marijuana tests, and it's going to cost them millions of dollars. And it just illustrates yet another way our system profits off of the harassment and mistreatment of marijuana consumers. None of these players are going to lose a dime if they get drunk on the weekend. But if they smoke some pot, it could cost them millions. Now, in the report here, in this story from Christian Science Monitor, they report about former NFL players who are now saying it's time for the NFL to change their policies. It was Marvin Washington, Brendan Ayanbadejo, and Scott Fujita who argued, quote, as former NFL players, we recognize our role as leaders and role models. We believe that reforming marijuana policies can, indeed must, go hand in hand with discouraging young people from using marijuana and other drugs. It's time for the NFL to be a leader and create a rational and science-based marijuana policy. And I love that quote because it hits upon what I think is the hurdle for these corporate-minded, image-minded corporations, the hurdle they can't get over. And that's this false idea that if they lighten up, turn a blind eye, or allow marijuana use by adults, they're setting a bad example for the children. And it's such a bogus argument when you can't turn on an NFL game and not see a beer commercial. Hell, you'll see the beer sponsorships within the actual broadcast of the game. You'll see it on the sidelines, or you'll see it in the stands, on the signs in the stadium. So you can't make this argument that we can't allow or promote this thing because of the message it would send to children, when there are plenty of studies that'll show you that this commercial advertising of beer alongside football will increase youth use of alcohol or exposure to it. So it's a bogus argument to make. And we understand that we can make commercials about, Coors Light Silver Bullet, whatever the hell, and also have ads on explaining to not drink and drive, that buzz driving is drunk driving, that if you have an alcohol problem, here's where you get help. We understand that we can hold two thoughts in our heads at the same time. We can accept that adults can have fun with weed, and we can try to keep kids from using it. We can promote safe and sensible policies. And until the corporations and the public relations people can get their heads around that idea, that you don't have to suspend a wide receiver for an entire year in order to send the right message to the kids about smoking pot. Because you know what you do when you suspend the wide receiver for smoking pot? You teach the kids, don't get caught. You don't teach them just say no. You teach them, don't get caught. And that's what this story continues to talk about, is how the NFL has made it possible for them not to get caught. They do the NFL drug testing starting, like I said, on April 20th, and it runs through August. But if you test, you get tested once, and you get tested in that period, and you come up negative, you're not tested again for the rest of the year. So the NFL's already kind of keeping the door as open as it can in some ways. But in other ways, it's much more restrictive than other sports leagues. In the NFL, their original threshold, when you pee on the pee test, was that if they found 15 nanograms of metabolite, you failed the test. 15 nanograms of metabolite. Folks, I wake up at 15 nanograms of metabolite, right? Now, they've raised that recently. Last year, they raised it to 35 nanograms. So there might be some people thinking, well, they doubled the threshold. They made it, twice the number plus, right? 35. But when you compare that to other leagues, Major League Baseball tests at 50 nanograms. And the World Anti-Doping Agency, that's the agency that holds the drug test for the Olympics, their threshold's 150 nanograms. And when they asked them, and the World Anti-Doping Agency recently raised that from 15, the same 15 the NFL had, raised it from 15 to 150, 10 times the limit. And when asked why, they said specifically that it had to do with not wanting to catch athletes who merely use marijuana in their off time. We just want to stop them from using it right before an event or during an event. Something that you could actually make a legitimate safety argument for. Not an argument I agreed with, but at least it would be a legitimate argument. And other players, Marcellus Wiley, who played for the Chargers for a time, says he thinks the number of NFL pot users is greater than 30%. He thinks it's around 50%. And he says they're leaning on it to cope with pain. They're leaning on it to cope with the anxiety of the game. And considering the prescription painkillers that these guys are given on a regular basis, we should be allowing them to swap that out for marijuana. And now with what we know about the protective effect of marijuana, of THC, against concussion and traumatic brain injury, it's criminal not to allow these guys to use marijuana. And yet, like that player, Shane Ray, he has to issue an apology. I made big mistakes, poor judgment. Has to issue a public apology, and he's going to lose millions of dollars in the draft.
That's just how white folks will do you.
Yeah, no kidding. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers general manager said, "This changes Shane Ray dramatically because to me, it's such a poor decision this close to the draft. What's this guy going to do on a Friday or Saturday night before a big game? Is he going to make another poor choice?" Yeah, as if a guy who smokes pot and gets caught is some kind of mental midget who can't make responsible decisions. Disgusting.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on 420radio.org. The Fingerboard extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The Fingerboard extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone, and Recording King banjos. The Fingerboard extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com. Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the national organization for the reform of marijuana laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the fourth Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers. Support for 420 Radio comes from Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies, a guide to gardening with nature, authored by Kip Zonderkopf. Based on the ethos that a living soil is the foundation of a thriving garden, Kick-Ass Cannabis and Veggies is your guide to naturally growing resinous buds and nutrient-rich veggies. Get the ebook now with instant download at kickassorganics.com. Previews available on Amazon, iTunes, Nook, Google Play, Kobo, and many other online retailers.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Irie Wednesday, featuring reggae, ska, and other world music genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your 420 break. We got Gordon Green on the line, joining us once again. How you doing, Gordon?
Hey, Russ, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. It's great to hear from you. We're winding up April here, heading into May, and what's happening for your summer as you come up here?
Well, I'm still in the beautiful city of Toronto, Canada right now, and it's a beautiful day today, the nicest day so far this year, and working on a bunch of new shows. Got some great things coming ahead.
All right, looking forward to that. And of course, folks, the show he's talking about is Gordon Green's Music Planet, which is our 1-hour world music program. You can catch it every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern. Also on the weekends, and on the weekends, I believe it's midnight Saturday and Sunday. So you'll get a chance to catch it then. And what sort of episodes are you working on?
Well, tonight's show is... end of the month show is usually the artist focus, where I play one group or band entirely and exclusively for the whole show. And tonight's show is a retrospective of a great fado singer from Portugal named Ana Maura. And she's got a beautiful voice, won tons of awards. And if you like the sound of Mediterranean smoky bar music, this is going to turn your crank for sure.
Yeah, I love the shows that you put forth. I've been introduced to so many different types of genres that I never would have experienced before. Encourage everyone to check it out at Gordon Green's Music Planet tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And for today's Daily Toker tune, what do we have on tap?
Actually, today's Toker tune is a song from my show next week, which is going to be Chart Toppers of France. And they're exclusively in French, except this one song that we're going to hear today. This song is by a duo called Lily Wood and the Prick. And they had a song that they released last year, and it was remixed by a German DJ named, his name is Robin Schulz. And that song, after he remixed it, went to #1 in over 14 different countries. The video on YouTube has been viewed more than 168 million times.
Wow.
And it's amazing how things can be super popular across the pond. And sometimes we never hear about them in the States. So this song today is called Prayer in C, and it's by Lily Wood and the Prick. You can check them out on YouTube, and you can hear it next week on Gordon Green's Music Planet as well.
All right, let's check it out. This is Prayer in C, Lily Wood and the Prick, the Robin Schulz remix. Thanks, Gordon, and we'll be listening to you tonight at 8.
Peace out, Russ.
420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio.
You never said a word. we shop. Shop at weedshop.com. Whether it's a vape pen, a pipe, or a bong, you can find it right now on weedshop.com. We got dab rings, nails, and ship it fast, whipping any of a competitor's glass. Come to the weed shop, yeah, that's where we shop. Shop at weedshop.com. Come to the weed shop, yeah, that's where we shop. Shop at weedshop.com.
Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out lushledlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Why you think that, yo, audio? Why you think they call it the healing of the nation? Audio, why you think it is the healing of the nation, eh? Ganja for life, say ganja for life. Oh. All I breathe know is ganja that we smoke. We're smoking weed for life. I'm gonna stop blazing now, you know. Strictly meditation. Yo, gets me through the day.
Welcome back, everyone. That's Mr. Williams with Ganja for Life featuring Clinton Moss. It's 32 after the hour. Glad to have you back here for Toker Talk Radio. Our phone lines are open at 84-420-RADIO. That's 844-207-2346. Or you can dial direct at 971-533-7111. And real quick here, before we get on to another topic, I received an email from the estimable Mr. Paul Armentano from Normal, the deputy director, who is by far one of the best read, most educated people on marijuana policy in the world. And it's a study here, very interesting study. And it's going to, is this psychiatry? Journal of Psychiatry. Psychotic experiences are linked to cannabis use in adolescence because of common underlying environmental risk factors. So this is interesting. They point out that cannabis users are more likely to experience psychotic experiences, The degree to which these associations are driven by genetic or environmental influences in adolescence is unknown. This study estimated the genetic and environmental contributions to the relationship between cannabis use and psychotic experiences. They were measured in community-based twin samples, 4,830 16-year-old twins that they checked out. That's got to be a really interesting group to have to work with, I imagine. Using self-reports and parent reports, adolescents reported on ever using cannabis. And they found that cannabis use was significantly correlated with psychotic experiences. Yes, indeed. The more likely it is that you used cannabis, the more likely that you had a psychotic experience. But what they found out here was that environmental influences explained all of the covariation between cannabis use and paranoia, cognitive disorganization, and parent-rated negative symptoms. Cannabis use explains 2 to 5% of the variance in positive, cognitive, and negative psychotic experiences. Cannabis use and psychotic experiences co-occur due to environmental factors. Focus on specific environments may reveal why adolescent cannabis use and psychotic experiences tend to travel together. So we'll be bringing this up with Dr. Mitch on Monday's show. But it appears to me to be another hole in the scaremongering that, oh my God, if you smoke pot when you're a teenager, you're going to go insane. Yeah, so we'll talk to Dr. Mitch on Monday about that. But let me get to this other story that I wanted to talk about Oh, I see the John Thomas in the chat rooms talking about Jamaica. You do know that High Times is holding a Jamaican Cannabis Cup this November. And I was asked recently about whether or not I'm going to be at the Jamaican Cannabis Cup. So if you wonder why I've been pimping for more VIP members, that's part of the reason. I really want to cover the Jamaican Cannabis Cup. But I wanted to cover this other story as well. And it's something that I learned when I was in Denver. I had no idea that in the city of Denver proper, not the Auroras and the Inglewoods and the Lakewoods all around it, but in the city of Denver itself, you can't keep your pot shop open past 7 p.m. Now, this is insane. First of all, if you're a typical worker working in Denver and your shift ends at 5, do you know what Denver traffic is like at 5 o'clock? It's insane. So people got to try to make their way to their dispensary, to their pot shop. And again, some of these pot shops are med only. So a recreational user might have to even drive farther to try to get some weed. I mean, don't they understand that if you have a ridiculously early closing time like that, you do two things. Number one, you generate more traffic and rush for people trying to get to these places before 7 o'clock closing time. Or two, you send your marijuana business to the nearby suburbs that stay open later. See, I mean, here in Portland, I am able to go to a selection of dispensaries, medical dispensaries, to be sure, but still, all down Sandy Boulevard, there's maybe 4 or 5 of them. And the one that I am now going to consistently is the one that has the longest opening hours. Like opens like at 7 in the morning and closes at like 11 at night or something. I go an extra 10 blocks to that place, and I skip by another place whose hours close at 7. Now, that's not just because I'm buying weed after 7. Even when it's not after 7, even when it's regular business hours that anybody on Sandy Boulevard is open, I'm going to the place that stays open till 11. Because I want my business to support a business that is willing to give me better service and stay open later. But if you set up a situation where all the businesses have to close at 7, that sort of competition for better customer service doesn't exist. You've eliminated one means by which these businesses could differentiate themselves in terms of their customer service. And it seems ridiculous to me. It seems ridiculous to me as well in light of the fact that I can go and get a shot of liquor by the glass in a lot of places in Denver till, what's closing time in Denver? 2 in the morning? I don't know. Back in, I'm not much of a drinker anymore, so I don't even know what closing time is anymore. How long has it been since I closed a bar down? It goes back to my music playing days, right? But if we're going to accept that people can go to buildings in their cars, park them there with the express purpose of going inside to take a dangerous drug that impairs driving, and that place is going to stay open till 2 in the morning, and we're just going to trust people to not then take their cars and drive home impaired. And then you want to close the pot shop at 7. Why? What's the rationale there, man? I don't understand it. So, activists in Denver are working on this, but it just seems strange to me. It just seems strange to me the way we have to get to where marijuana is going to eventually be in this country. How we're having to take these tiny little baby steps, right? And don't take this as an argument against the tiny baby steps. We're at least making progress. But it does get frustrating when it's you and me, and we both know what marijuana really is. Now, it ain't tomatoes. I'm not a treat it like tomatoes guy, because when was the last time a bunch of kids hopped your fence to get tomatoes to make a bunch of calzones that they done snuck into school and got sick on? Never happens, right? Tomatoes don't get you high. So I don't go that far, but I do at least go to the point where the marijuana, and it's so tough too, because I like to think and talk in analogies, and a lot of people do as well, but marijuana is not analogous to anything. Marijuana is its own thing. Marijuana is its own category. I dislike it when news stories and people talk about marijuana as a drug. Yes, marijuana has an effect on one's endocannabinoid system that leads to feelings of pleasure and hunger and all sorts of things. And technically, yeah, I suppose it's a drug. But to me, drugs are what humans make out of plants. And, for that matter, animals. Some minerals and such. But a drug is a manufactured thing, right? To me, like cobra venom, poisons and such, in certain applications can be medicinal. But we don't call venom or anything a medicine. It's a poison, right? We have specific ways of referring to these things, and marijuana doesn't really fit in with them, So let's say marijuana is a mind-altering drug. Well, no, it doesn't really alter my mind. It enhances my mind. My mind doesn't change when I'm on marijuana. Okay, let me rephrase that. My mind changes a little bit on marijuana with respect to what things are funny, what things feel good. I guess you could make that point. But to me, the idea of mind-altering drug puts the general public in the frame of mind of something that is Jekyll and Hyde-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody knows the guy who's a normal, regular old guy, but when he gets drunk, he's an asshole. Or he's one of those lovey drunks. I love you, man. I fucking love you. Right? But we understand this concept of getting intoxicated on alcohol and it fundamentally changing who you are and how you act. And we recognize that with cocaine and meth and heroin. But I don't recognize that with marijuana. I don't think that the people who use marijuana, that it changes who they fundamentally are in the ways that those other drugs do. Marijuana in that respect is, and I hate to say this, but is closer to like cigarette smoking, right? Now, indeed, we can think of people who smoke cigarettes who then, if they don't have cigarettes, turn into raving, nicotine-crazed, bitches and assholes, right? We know that, right? People going through a Nicky fit, sure, but that's a physiological reaction. The person who's a cigarette smoker, it hasn't changed their fundamental personality in any way or their judgment in any way. And I think marijuana is that way as well. I don't think marijuana smokers make decisions when high that they wouldn't have necessarily made when sober. At least to the extent with alcohol, right? Okay, maybe there's an argument to be made that, yeah, when you got high, you made some stupid decision, but not anywhere near alcohol. Marijuana is like the least drug, right? Like, if you're going to make a number line to judge drugs, that number line would start at marijuana. On a scale of marijuana to, I don't know, PCP, right? All drugs would fit in there somewhere. Marijuana would have to be at the bottom of the scale and thus should be treated accordingly. This idea that we have to close the shops at 7 p.m., limit the purchases to 1 ounce, track it in a database from the time it was a seed, just seems so overdone, doesn't it? So much wasted time and effort for something that essentially is a weed that makes people happy and a little bit hungry.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while. Share.
.420 Radio, the activist radio station. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Tokers, there's no good reason to get your dog stoned. While it might not harm them physically, imagine being a dog who already begs for treats all day, and then imagine that dog having the munchies. Not cool.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
Back, everybody. Feeling Irie here on a Wednesday. Remember to tune in later tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific time, to Gordon Green's Music Planet. And coming up next on 420 Radio, make sure you tune in to the Activism Hour. New time, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 5 a.m. Pacific time. You'll catch an hour worth of the latest content from Normal, Americans for Safe Access, Drug Policy Alliance, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, High Times, Magical Butter, and many more, including the state and local chapters of Normal and SSDP. If you'd like to get your content played from your activist organization on the Activism Hour, just send me a note, russ@radicalruss.com, and we can make that happen. All right, so that's some great music there from Catch a Fire. Tune there was called You're Dreaming. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Colorado and its legalization, and I was looking up some information when I found this from Fox News in Los Angeles, from the Fox Business station, actually. And this is an interview with Maria Bartiromo interviewing Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper and asking about the legalization of marijuana.
Kind of taking these young entrepreneurs and saying, all right, that's a good part of an idea, but you need to adapt it. You need to, just giving them that real-time, valuable assistance.
All right, let me move on to marijuana, because this is obviously a subject a lot of people talk about, because on your watch, you have legalized the use of marijuana in Colorado. How's it going?
Well, first, it's all those young people coming, and they look at marijuana and they say, hey, we can drink whiskey. Why can't we, have a legalized system with marijuana?
Right.
Well, I think if you look back, it has turned out not to be as vexing as some of the people like myself that I opposed the original vote, didn't think it was a good idea. Now the voters spoke, so we're trying to make it work, and I think we are. It's not as vexing as we thought it was going to be, but at the same time, it hasn't been the economic boom that some promoters thought it would be. I think we are slowly, through hard work, building a regulatory system, making sure we keep it out of the hands of kids, making sure we keep our streets and roads safe, making sure we begin to kill the illegal black market, right? Drug dealers don't care who they sell to. And we're getting it. We're getting there.
I think you're right. We did a special a couple of years ago on marijuana. It was the single best, most watched program ever on cable, and we were all like, "Wow, what does this say about America? America smokes pot."
Well, and they're certainly even the people that don't smoke pot. We look at Colorado now. The people that used to be smoking it are still smoking it. They're now just paying taxes. The people that didn't smoke it still aren't. Right? So we haven't seen a spike, but I think there is a real expectation from people, even that don't smoke it, you shouldn't go to jail, that it isn't that much worse than whiskey or beer. And there's a sense that, we should figure out how to do this.
But do we know that? I mean, we know tobacco causes cancer. Do we know that about marijuana?
We don't. That's one of the challenges, we're still going to invest a ton of money to do the vertical studies. Almost every scientist I've talked to, they are very concerned about, especially when kids' brains are growing, teenagers, this high THC marijuana could permanently reduce their long-term memory. That's their IQ.
How much money has the marijuana legalization brought in for you in Colorado?
Well, I think this coming year will be probably about $100 million in taxes. It's about $1 billion industry. we're still trying to adjust the taxes to make sure we get rid of the black market. So we might actually end up having to lower the taxes a little bit just to make sure, a drug dealer doesn't care who they sell to. So we want to make sure that we are diminishing the black market.
But the $100 million in revenue, that compares to what, a $25 billion budget or something?
Yeah, if you include all the federal pass-throughs and all the money that comes through, our general fund is about $10 billion, and the total state budget is probably $25 billion.
And by the way, you said there's still a black market alive and well, even though
there is a couple of the challenges. We got to get rid of the black market. We still can't bank it, right? And we are the kind of laboratory for this. You remember Justice Brandeis called states the laboratories of democracy. Well, that's kind of our role in this. And if we can get some banking, we're trying to get a credit union approved by the Fed. If we can do that, at least then it won't. Right now, it's all in cash, and that's not healthy, right?
Sure.
If you want to really try to encourage corruption and gangsters, make it cash.
Wow, that's really interesting stuff. John, great to have you on the show today.
You bet.
We so appreciate your time.
So that's Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business and interviewing the governor of Colorado, John Hickenlooper. And to me, the one thing that stood out is how much our messaging has penetrated the mainstream consciousness. How many times did he say some variation of drug dealers don't check ID? Drug dealers don't care who they're selling to, whatever it is he said. That has been messaging that we have crafted for the marijuana movement for over a decade now. And to hear the top level elected officials now echoing our framing, that's how you know we're winning, folks. We have won mostly the hearts and minds of this country. And that's very, very wonderful to hear. Now, there's still some problems with what he had to say. That whole stuff of, well, we don't know if it causes cancer. Yes, we do. It doesn't cause cancer. In fact, it may be the answer to some very promising cancer treatments. And this IQ stuff, the adolescent brains and the high THC, they could permanently lose IQ. No, they won't. This has been debunked and debunked again and debunked a third time. There is no cognitive decline, long-term cognitive decline associated with the use of marijuana in people that aren't currently high. So, that one's going to take a while to kill. And one of the references he made about people recognize they shouldn't go to jail for it, it's no worse than drinking whiskey. But it's better than drinking whiskey. And I think that's the next stage that we start to take. Now, obviously, out here in the Western states, every place is in its own stage right now, right? But I think the next step in this evolution is pivoting from prohibition is bad to marijuana is good. And it's going to take some very deft marketing and framing to pull this off. But we've got to get out from under the idea of marijuana is no worse than alcohol. It's not. To marijuana is actually better than alcohol. That we actually should be promoting people switching from alcohol to marijuana. That we ought to be promoting the ability of marijuana to help people reduce their painkiller needs. There was recently the FDA, a couple years ago, I think, had to issue a bulletin telling people to lay off the acetaminophen, to the Tylenols, the Advils. And I don't know which one of those is which. They're all the same to me. The pills you buy for your headache, right? Whatever. Naproxen, ibuprofen, acetaminophen. But this one was specifically on acetaminophen. And the problem is that acetaminophen is hepatotoxic. It's bad for your liver. You can't take too much of this stuff. It messes up your liver. And so the FDA had to issue, hey folks, lay off the acetaminophen. You're taking too much of the stuff, you're killing yourselves. So why shouldn't we be promoting marijuana as something people can use for their general aches and pains? It sounds ludicrous to some people out there listening, but I predict we're going to see this in short order. Because one of the things about prohibition is that prohibition forces the culture around the drug to be carried by the outlaws, the outliers, the people with nothing to lose, right? That's why marijuana's got this hippie, outlaw, rebel, long hair, anti-Vietnam kind of reputation. Because those people that were smoking marijuana were open about it and could be open about it. But I represent a whole cadre of marijuana smokers out there who are just average Joes. People that just work in cubicles or landscaping or restaurant work or IT. I mean, things I've done. Who have very little in common with, who've never seen the Grateful Dead. I've never seen the Grateful Dead. Who don't like, patchouli or whatever is associated with typical marijuana culture. I mean, and that's one thing that is going to happen with the lifting of prohibition is that what I believe is a majority of not necessarily the regular cannabis consumers, but the occasional cannabis consumers. Not the 3 million of us that are smoking every day, although some of us, like myself, are those cubicle dwellers, those tie wearers. But we're going to see with the lifting of prohibition, we are going to see this emergence of these people for whom the goal isn't how big a bong hit can we take? How fucked up can we get? How mega dab can we take? And instead, an evolution of a consumer base that's interested in the differentiation of the experience. What different kind of high is there? And some for whom that use can become just for pain relief and the development of lower THC strains and maybe higher in CBD, maybe different flavors. And when that begins to happen, we can then envision this world where we're promoting, Lucky Leaf Stick for your headache or whatever the hell the brand name's going to be. I don't know. I'm making it up, right? That's what I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm working for. And so we need to figure out how we're going to make that pivot. How are we going to promote these uses of marijuana in a atmosphere where what about the children dominates? And every fear is that somehow this new allowance for marijuana use by adults is going to come down and affect our kids. And I actually argue that the more we mainstream it, the more it becomes granny's glaucoma medicine or grandpa's arthritis medicine, the more that it becomes lower THC products that are more akin to a social wine party rather than chugging Jack Daniels at the kegger. The more that happens, the more it naturally gravitates away from the kids. It becomes boring. It becomes mom and dad's thing. Ew. So it seems to me that we've got to find a way of convincing the people who have these fears about marijuana, fears about it for their kids, fears about a stoned culture emerging, to understand that it's the repression of marijuana, the prohibition of marijuana, that sets the tone for those very things you don't like. What made marijuana so potent? What led to the development and the popularization of dabs? Prohibition. The need to be able to smuggle it easier, to have less smell out of it, to get more profit out of the leaf and the trim and so forth. If we still had alcohol prohibition, back during alcohol prohibition, we turned from a nation of people that drank beer and cider to a people that drank whiskey and other hard liquor. Prohibition always does that. Well, folks, that music means that we're just about out of time. Thanks for joining us again. Time flies when you legalize, and we hope that we legalize soon where you're at. But you can have a hand in that. Get involved with your local reform organization or start your own. SSDP, Normal, Drug Policy Alliance, or create your own group. But we're all stronger in this fight if we work together. Organization's the key, and that's what we're here for at 420 Radio. For everyone here, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, You dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow